Good morning, everyone, or afternoon. I guess it depends on where you're joining us from. We're going to be talking about permitting. I want to start out with kind of what we consider to be the building blocks of a permitting solution. So this webinar is going to be primarily demo driven. So I just have a few kind of starter slides here. Again, just want to kind of preface this with saying, we're building this on the ArcGIS platform. We're using all the tools available to us. So this can definitely be customized to, whatever your needs are. These are the tools that we use to build our demo platform, and then also for another client that was interested in a permitting solution. So kind of the base here is using Survey 123 to build out our permit forms. Then we have operations dashboard coming in to basically manage the approval process and view any kind of survey metrics. And then Make, you may or may not be familiar with Make. It is the visual automation platform. It was formerly known as Integramat, and it's what we use, and at least in this example, to automate email communication throughout the permitting process. You may be familiar with another platform called Microsoft Flow. We did choose Make over Flow because of the ability to listen to not only when a survey is created, but also anytime it's edited, which is kind of the bulk of the facilitation of the email communication. And then last, we have either hub or sites if you're an enterprise, and or experience builder, to kind of bring everything together on one single application in a little bit more of a user-friendly way. We did choose experience builder for this, but again, all this can be customized to your liking. So to show you from a visual perspective what we're going to be looking at today, so we have two experience builder sites. You're going to see a lot more than permitting on these sites because they were originally built out as like a highway portal. But anyway, we have an internal management portal here. And so from a permitting standpoint, we have two permits. We're going to be focusing on the utility permit, but we do have a moving permit that we used, we built out for a client, and then the permit manager dashboard. So we know that as we try to start to move away from paper into a digital platform, we still may need to grab that in paper form and enter it ourselves as the permit managers. So that's why the permits exist over here in the management portal, so that if you get it in a paper form, the permit manager can essentially fill that out. Then we have the public engagement portal. Again, this is going to look like a lot more than permitting, but the idea is obviously to have the public be able to fill out these permits and submit them. And then we have a basic public permit locator. We're going to be using Make for that facilitation of communication, but also we're going to have this mapping application here that's going to allow the public to go see the permits around the area, be able to search for their name, view a pop-up with their status, and so forth. So this looks a little bit much, but this is the process. And again, this can be customized. This was the process that our client came up with and kind of what they wanted to see in the email communication process. So from here on out, I'm going to kind of be referring to the person filling out the permit as the applicant, and the person that's, managing the permit will be the manager or the permit manager. So what we have here is the applicant basically submitting the permit. And then we have Make automation coming in, listening for that. And we will take a look hopefully we have time to take a look at it behind the scenes in Make. And that will send an email out to both the permit manager and the applicant, letting them know that their permit was submitted, and then letting the permit manager know that a permit has been submitted to them. Then we come down here and we're putting the permit under review, unless you, of course, are going to look at it right then. But that gives the applicant a way to know, if they're looking in that permit manager, that somebody has received their submission. And then we have a few different paths that we can go. So we can go up and we can approve the permit. And then it comes through Make and sends an email out to the applicant that their permit has been approved. Through the Survey 123 website, we can create reports. So in this case, we created basically a copy of the permit through a template in the Survey 123 website. And all the fields in there, they auto fill out from the submission on the permit. So it's really nice. We're able to attach that then to the email and give that to the applicant. Then it can also be denied. And then the email will be sent to the applicant telling them why their permit was denied, and then giving them, access to contact the permit manager for more information. Then we have this middle path here. So this is more information needed. Anything that wasn't done on the permit form. So this can be kind of the tedious process of trying to get a hold of each other, redoing the permit, making those changes. So that comes through as an email to the applicant telling them that they need to modify their permit and why. And then once they're done modifying it, it comes through Make again and rounds back up here at the permit manager and lets them know that that's been resubmitted for their review. So again, this can be customized. This is kind of the workflow that we're going to go through here in the demo. And I am going to escape out of this, and we are going to head over to an actual demo. So this is the highway management portal, the internal site. Again, you're seeing more than just permitting on here, but we're going to go into permits. And what I have going on here, this is made with Experience Builder, as I mentioned earlier. We have the utility permit, the moving permit, which we're not going to focus on, and then the permit manager. And we're going to kind of go through, I'm going to fill this permit out. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the capabilities of Survey 123. This is automatically filling out here. We won't get into too much detail, but that's using something called URL parameters. I'm basically feeding that through in Survey or in Experience Builder, so that comes out as utility permit. And then also, since I'm trying to keep all of the permits in one Survey 123 form, I'm using conditional fields where if it says utility permit, it's showing me utility permit fields. If it was moving permit, it would show me moving permit fields. So all things that you can kind of customize in Survey 123. The permit number you can see automatically filled out. And again, this is a calculation setting that I have in Survey 123, taking the year and then U for utility permit. And then what it's doing is I'm trying to just create a unique ID here by taking the month, the day, and then the hour. And then we could go minutes. You can make up your own ID, and that again is all customizable. We also have the ability to make things read only. As you can see here, I have the submission date automatically populating, and I don't want this to be changed. So I have it as a read only field. We have the ability to style our permits here. So I can group them and then make that expandable or collapsible. We can see the star here means that it's required. So we can require our applicants to fill out certain fields, and we're going to go ahead and start to fill this out. Let's do Matthew Mick Mapper Pants. Oops. Ignore my spelling, and we'll say Mick Mapper Pants Inc. is our company. And then this address field is a geocoding field. So what's going to happen is as you start to type, it's going to start to give you suggestions. And this again can be set in Survey 123. You can start to type in an address or a business. We'll do map room. And we'll go ahead and do that in Cedar Rapids. And as you can see, we have some other coded fields that's splitting that up and putting that into our city, state, and zip code. Makes it a lot easier on our applicant. Here for phone number, we have some masking options that we've been able to put to kind of force the format for the phone number. I'm going to start typing. And you can see if I just left it like that, it's telling me that this is not the correct format. It's not going to let me submit the survey until I satisfy the requirement. for email. What I have going on here is kind of a live and learn situation. When I was first doing this, I initially had the email field and I typed my email in wrong as I was testing, and I didn't get my notification. So what I did is I placed a check field in here, and you can use Survey 123 and some calculations for it to go look at this field and make sure that they're identical. So I'm going to put my email address in. Oops. And we'll go ahead and do that down here. And I'm trying to go on, and you can see it's not letting me. There must be a problem here. There we go. I fixed it. So we'll continue on. Again, all these fields, completely customizable. Now we get down to this work location. So this was an interesting problem that we had, especially with the utility permit. And that was up here, we wanted the address to be able to fill out on the permit form because that's where this company is located, but the work wasn't necessarily being done there. So we wanted the ability, if it was the same address, we can click this button, say it's the same address, and then our permit will show up in that location. But if it's a different location, we can go ahead and click that. And now we have the ability to basically either scroll into our location or type an address. So I'm going to type in an address where the work is actually taking place. That's going to zoom me in. And then if you wanted to, you can move the map. If you want to move the pin location, you can simply just click on the map and you can see the latitude and longitude are changing down there. And I'm just going to continue to fill out some information here. And then here is another instance where open cut across the highway. I can use Survey 123 to embed materials that I need in there. So if I say yes to this, there is a form of restrictions that come up. So the applicant has the ability to now click this PDF and see a list of restrictions if they decide that they are open cutting across the highway. So some real nice flexibility and customization options. Again, I'm using Survey 123 Connect, the desktop version of Survey 123. It gives you a little bit more flexibility in that customization area. We'll put in a date for starting, finish date. We'll say that as-built are required. Here, I'm going to expand this. So to explain a little bit, you can see that these are actually images. The reason we went, you can attach files too. So this is definitely a matter of choice. And the reason why we went with images instead of, PDF files is because at the end, when we send that permit as a PDF and attach it to the email, there's no way to embed a PDF in a PDF. So we can only embed images. So our client decided that they preferred that they wanted all of that in one PDF. So we decided to make this images. We can style the appearance of the field so that we can select multiple images. So I'm going to go select a pre-planned drawing here. It's telling me to add the as-built after the project is complete. Again, that is per our client, can all be changed depending on your own workflow. So we'll go ahead and sign Matthew McMapperpants, and we'll submit. Now, once this permit is submitted, we are going to expect that our bake automation is going to send an email to both the applicant and the permit manager. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh my screen here, and they do. So I'm going to be acting as both the permit manager and the applicant. So in the top one, I can see permits submitted. So as the applicant, this is the email that I would get. And then this has also been customized through Make. I did do some custom HTML just to make this look a little bit nicer, but it doesn't have to be that complex either. So here it's just, it's giving the permit number, it's telling them it was successfully submitted and what date it was submitted on. And it is pulling this information from the survey, which is nice. We have this button here that allows them to go and open up their permit in edit mode. And then also gives them a link to the permit locator that they can use. If we head on back here as the permit manager, this is the email that I received telling me the permit number, that it was submitted to me on the date, and then it gives me a link to the permit manager. So we're going to go ahead and go back over here. We'll close that out. And then we have the permit manager here, and we'll take a look at that. The permit manager was created using Operations Dashboard. There was besides liking the style here and the ability for the filters, there was another reason for this, and one of those reasons was being able to embed the Survey 123 form inside of Operations Dashboard. Those webhooks, that automation that we talk about and make, it's being facilitated by each time this permit is submitted. So when you first submit it, that's triggering the webhook. When you edit it and submit it again, it's also pulling that information, which we'll see later on. So I needed to be able to actually resubmit the survey and not just edit the fields in say, a table or whatnot. So up here, we have various filters, again, customizable. We have the table widget here where it's giving us some information. We have a couple of indicators over here, in progress and ready for close. I have a ready for close tab that was specific to what our client considered to be ready for close. So if we click on that, with regards to the utility permit, they considered it ready for close if the status was approved, if as-built were required, and then they were attached. That meant it was ready for close. Or if it was approved, as-built were not required, then it would also be ready to close out. And I wanted to keep these separate for them because it's nice to have just a list of everything that's ready to be closed out. So this is a short list, and we can already see our applicant right here. But if we wanted to search by their name, we could do that. Could click on it, it's going to filter. As soon as I click on the row here, you can see the Survey 123 form is updating. I can go ahead and click on this, and my pop-up shows me some information. I've got a nice status bar. It's telling me that permit is pending, and then it was just opened today. And then this is nice. So there may be times when you need to remove a permit, probably not very often, but maybe as you're testing this, there's not a real great way to do that. So what I've done here is I've created a link, and using, again, URL parameters, if we click this, it's going to open up a web app builder application, just a very simple one. It's using URL parameters with the object ID. You can even see them up here in the URL. It's bringing me right to my permit. I can click on it and then use the Smart Editor widget to just delete it. Again, there's not very many circumstances where you're going to want to delete a permit out. Probably when you're testing, then maybe if somebody accidentally filled a permit out that you didn't want in there. Over here we have some mapping tools, so we can see our legend, what each of these means, submitted under review, more information. And then here we are in our survey. So we can take a look through it. We can click here and we can make it bigger. So if we want to take a look at for everything down there. So the first thing we're probably going to want to do is put it under review. So if we go down, we'll see that we have the ability now to edit the status. So we can choose under review, we'll hit submit. And then if I just roll in here, we can see it starting to change colors. And then on the public permit locator, which we'll look at later, this would change the color there too. And they'd be able to see that somebody got their permit and they're reviewing it currently. So let's just move down and go to more information. Let's say there's something else that needs to be added to this. So I'm going to choose more information, and I'm going to write out some comments. Need a better description. And I'm going to hit submit. My icon changes, and then I would expect that the applicant would receive an email, which they do. It says more information required. I'm going to click on it. It's going to again give me my permit number, and it's going to say it needs some additional information. And to see the reviewer's comments, I did add the reviewer's comments to the email, and this is pulled right from the survey form. So as the applicant, I'm going to go ahead and edit my permit. I'm going to take a look at my description and see what I need to do differently. There, that surely fixes the problem. And I'm going to submit it. And then at this point, we would expect that communication would head on back to the permit manager, letting them know that the permit was resubmitted. So as the permit manager, I come in and I say, okay, Matthew McMapperpants has resubmitted the permit, and I can just click right on the link to the permit manager. I'll go ahead and click this. We'll let the survey load. I'm going to take a look at the description. We'll scroll on up. Yep, meets my requirements. This is exactly what I was expecting. So I'm going to decide to approve this. So again, through some calculations, some customizations in survey 123, I have made this field conditional. If it's approved, then you're not going to be able to go, it's going to be required. You're not going to be able to submit the survey. So I'm going to go ahead and put the approval date here, and we'll click submit. We'll roll in out here. And so this one may take a minute. So this is the point where it's creating that report and then attaching that report to the email sent to the applicant. So we'll go here. Let's refresh. We'll go back out. We'll give it a second. If it doesn't come right away, looks like it just did. It's letting me know that it's approved. It's telling me that once I have completed the project to attach as-built, if it's applicable. It's giving me a link to the permit to modify that. It's giving me a link to contact the department if I need more information. And then here is my permit report. So this is a template that I made. It's customizable to whatever your permit looks like. And you can see here, it's auto filling out these fields based on the fields from the permit. We can scroll down. We can see that this has been attached. Those have been embedded into this report, the images. Again, why we chose images versus PDF, but completely up to you. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and take a look at, let's actually go in and edit that. Forgot our last step, which was actually attaching the as-builts to this. So we're going to say the applicant is done. So we'll go here and finally attach our as-builts. And the last step in the communication in this process will let the permit manager know that these have been attached and it's ready to be closed out. Do that. Here it's saying that as-builts have been attached. Of course, technical difficulties here. Let's do that. And we'll hop in here. And as you notice, our indicators have changed. If we go into the Ready for Close tab, we have Matthew McMapperpants. He's in there. We're going to go ahead and click on him and close it out. We'll submit that. And sometimes it takes a second for the table to refresh. So I'm going to force refresh it. Our indicators have changed. It's no longer in the Ready for Close tab. So let's take a quick look at what this looks like on the public side. So this is the public portal. Again, has much more than permits here, but very similarly to the internal management portal, it's got the utility permit and the moving permit. If you were to click into it, you're going to see the exact same form here. Some differences using URL parameters. I'm hiding certain fields in this one. In the previous one, the permit manager had the ability to change the permit number. In this one, the public cannot change the permit number. So that's some of the nice abilities to customize through Survey 123 and through URL parameters. So let's take a look at the permit locator, and this was created just using the Experience Builder widgets inside of here. And it's a very simple application. It just gives a little bit of information, how many open permits we have. They can click on status details and see we've got 1 pending and 4 issued, just some general information about permits in your area. It gives them a legend. They can make the map bigger, minimize that. And then they have the ability to search by applicant, company name, or address. So we'll go in here and we'll just search. They'll zoom us in here, and then we can click on the pop-up, and then we can see it was approved, and we can see, you know, the approved or denied date. If this hadn't been approved yet, it would show how many days it had been open. All things that we kind of made specific to the client and can be done specifically for your needs as well. So lastly, let's just take a look over at Make. So this is Make. This is our automation platform that we chose to use. There's a few components here. So I mentioned webhooks, and just like at a high level, this is the webhook that we're using. And basically what it's doing is it's listening to ArcGIS Survey 123, whether or not one's been added or edited. And then we have our connections. So we had to make a secure connection into ArcGIS Online in order to be able to achieve this. And then also sending the email out. So through Gmail, that's our connection there. And then scenarios are what bring it all together. This is the process right here. So if we click on it, we're just going to kind of at a high level go through this. So here's our Survey 123. We have routers and filters, and email functions are what we're looking at. And it's going through here, and there's a filter, and it's saying this is the add data. So when the data has been added, a new survey or a new permit, it's going this direction. If it's been modified, which is all the other instances, it's going to go in the other direction. So here we're going to see an email out to the sender or the applicant, and one to the permit manager. As we go this direction, this is where we start to get the more information required, the resubmission, the denied, the as-built, that's coming off here. And then lastly, we're going down, and this is where it's going to attach the report. So this is the Survey 123, where we can click into that, and we can see, we can choose our template, what format, whether it's a PDF, set some parameters there. It's going out, and it's going to grab the file, and then it's going to lastly attach that to the email. So it gets the file, the data, file name, and that's hooked up here. So that is the simple flow here. And just the last note on pricing. So this isn't, there is a free tier. It gives you 1 scenario, but only 1,000 apps a month. So that may or may not work for you. But here are the different plans. So you can start out, each plan has different criteria, different advantages to it. And then you can click through this, and depending on, you know, how many surveys you anticipate, you know, coming through, can depend on how much, but it's real affordable. Again, you could use Flow, but the last time I checked, Microsoft Flow doesn't look for the resubmission of any kind of edits. You'd only get that very first email letting you know it was submitted. So that is kind of the permitting process at a high level.